loves, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Joy, and guys, I want to dive into this interview because the more I look at it, the more insane it gets. Now, yesterday, I did a blind reaction to it. If you want to see it, go back and check. But there are so many gaffes. There are so many things that even at first I didn't catch that I want to go really in depth with because I like showcasing and exposing lying politicians because they are trying to, in my opinion, both sides keep us all in poverty and in sick so they can use us as slave labor and take our energy. Now, Biden to me is one of the worst. However, I love this situation because we are shining a light on what is happening. And basically, he is showing his ASS and that of the Democrats. Please keep in mind, I don't take a side. I'm just going to give you literally my unfiltered opinions and critical thoughts on what's going on with a mix of my intuition. So let's dive in and let's see exactly what the psychology is and where all these lies are. Take a look.
Good evening, everyone, on this momentous evening. I'm Juju Chang. Thanks so much for streaming with us. Tonight, ABC News has an exclusive interview with President Joe Biden. Our George Stephanopoulos sat down with the president for his first televised interview since that poor debate performance against Donald Trump. President Biden says he is committed to staying in the race and confident that he will prevail and beat Donald Trump. The president was directly called on to answer for his faltering appearances and whether he still has the mental and physical fitness for another term in the White House. Our team is standing by, of course, for analysis, but first, let's get to the interview.
Mr. President, thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start with the debate. You and your team have said you had a bad night, but your friend Nancy Pelosi actually framed the question that I think is on the minds of millions of Americans. Was this a bad episode or the sign of a more serious condition?
It was a bad episode. No indication of any serious condition. I was exhausted. I didn't listen to my instincts in terms of preparing, and I had a bad night.
You know, you say you were exhausted, and I know you've said that before as well, but you came, and you did have a tough month, but you came home from Europe about 11 or 12 days before the debate, spent 6 days in Camp David.
I want to say that I was actually pretty surprised that George Stephanopoulos was as hard on him as he was, and I'm happy about that. However, there are going to be points in here where he does cover for Biden, where you see Biden start to trail off and he reins them back in, which means they are helping him. However, I do like how he started this. Nancy Pelosi, he is quoting the top Democrat because she came out basically saying we need to look at this situation and that it's concerning. Translation in politics, she's no longer behind him, which I think is awesome. Now, you're also going to hear him say, oh, it's just a bad night. It was just a bad night. I don't know why, but then give a ton of excuses. So keep listening.
Why wasn't that enough rest time, enough recovery time?
Because I was sick. I was feeling terrible. Matter of fact, the docs with me, I asked them if they did a COVID test because they were trying to figure out what was wrong. They did a test to see whether or not I had some infection, a virus. I didn't. They just had a really bad cold.
The reason why this is concerning, guys, is because when Biden, first of all, I love when he says, I just had a cold. We thought it was a virus. Well, a cold is a virus. It's because we've had so many excuses from him, Jill, his whole campaign on what's actually going on. And this is somewhat dispelling the lies. He's outing himself. The first thing they said is he was jet lagged. Okay, but you had 12 days to recover from jet lag. I got a cold. First thing we heard was jet lag tired. Then, okay, I have a cold. And listen, I was a professional singer and I've been a professional voice teacher. I can hear there's a little bit of raspiness. I can hear that it's possible that he is recovering from a cold. And some people might say, yeah, but that was days or even a couple weeks ago. The voice is the first thing to go and the last thing to come back. This is across the board with illness. But regardless, and this is just me trying to be fair and trying to be balanced and unbiased and look at every side. What I like to do, I look at every side and get as much wisdom as I can. So let me give some grace. That is possible. But it doesn't excuse anything. Why would you say jet lag when you had almost 2 weeks to recover from it? It doesn't make sense.
And did you ever watch the debate afterwards?
I don't think I did, no.
Well,
this part is concerning. Did you watch the debate? I don't think I did. No. Two things. Number one, how do you not know? How do you not know if you watch the debate that you say was horrible and it's a bad performance, it was a bad debate, and it's on you? And I will say in this, he does take accountability, but then gives a slew of excuses. So things like this, again, continue to not make sense. And furthermore, why would you not? Why would you not watch it back to see what did I do wrong? Where can I do better? How does he not know if he saw it? What does that mean? What does that signal to all of us about what's actually going on with him cognitively? It kind of scares me.
What I want to get at is, what were you experiencing as you were going through the debate? Did you know how badly it was going?
Yeah, look, the whole way I prepared, nobody's fault mine. Nobody's fault but mine. I prepared what I usually would do, sitting down, as I did come back with foreign leaders or the National Security Council, for explicit detail. And I realized about partway through that, you know, I get quoted, the New York Times had me down at 10 points before the debate, 9 now, or whatever the hell it is. The fact of the matter is that what I looked at is that he also lied 28 times. The way the debate ran, not my fault, no one else's fault. No one else's fault.
I want to call him out on this. He's like, the way the debate ran. First he'll say my fault, nobody else's fault, but then gives excuses. And okay, I can understand because some people get this confused. Maybe he's just giving more context. But then he says the way the debate ran. Here's what I want you guys to understand if you're not following. So he was completely in control. Him and his team were completely in control of how this ran. First of all, ABC, very biased, completely on his side, like all the other mainstream media outlets, calling all of us horrible, terrible people. They love dropping the R word on us, and we are just mean, horrible, prejudiced people against this man and everybody else. However, we were right when we saw all these cognitive issues over the last weeks, months, years, and we've brought it to attention. They had complete control over this. They had control. They had favor in this whole situation. And basically, Trump had to agree to all of their terms when it came to this debate. So how was the debate run so poorly, Biden? If your team was running it, what does that say to all of us? And then about the lies. Look, I will say this. I'm not saying Donald Trump is always truthful. All these politicians lie. But with Donald, when they call him out on lying, number one, typically they're taking things out of context, which is what I've seen. And it sucks because the mainstream media has taken him so far out of context and they have lied so much about him that now if there is a legitimate lie, I immediately don't believe it when it comes to Donald Trump because I've just caught them doing so many things. Donald, instead of lying, tends to more exaggerate. And I've said this before, look, he's a marketing guy. He's a PR guy. He's in real estate. This is what they do. Oh, it's big, it's huge. This is just the nature of the businesses that he is in. I don't think you can say the same thing when it comes to Biden because Biden blatantly lies and he continues to lie about stuff like this. And I want you to listen to what he has to say about Trump because it continues to get interesting.
The New York Times had me down at 10 points before the debate, 9 now, or whatever the hell it is. The fact of the matter is that what I looked at is that he also lied 28 times. The way the debate ran, not my fault, no one else's fault. No one else's fault.
But it seemed like you were having trouble from the first question in.
That's right.
Even before he spoke.
Walking on the stage.
Well, I just had a bad night. You've had some bad interviews once in a while. I can't remember any, but I'm sure you did.
I've had plenty.
How bad it was. The whole time.
I guess the problem is here for a lot of Americans watching is you've said, going back to 2020, watch me, to people who are concerned about your age. And, 50 million Americans watched that debate. It seemed to confirm fears they already had.
Well, look, after that debate, I did 10 major events in a row, including until 2 o'clock in the morning after that debate. I did events in North Carolina. I did events in Georgia, did events like this today. Large crowds, overwhelming response, no slipping. And so I just had a bad night. I don't know why.
I had a bad night. I don't know why. I was tired. Trump was lying. The debate didn't go well. It wasn't planned well. It's just a string of things, and then I don't know. So which one is it? You don't know why it went poorly, or you have a string of excuses as to why it went poorly, but you didn't even watch it? How do you know the debate was so bad if you didn't even watch it back? There's a lot of stuff like this that he keeps saying and pointing out that just doesn't make sense.
The question, the problem is here for a lot of Americans watching is you've said, going back to 2020, watch me, to people who are concerned about your age. And, 50 million Americans watched that debate. It seemed to confirm fears they already had.
Well, look, after that debate, I did 10 major events in a
Then he says he did 10 major events in a row and talks about his grueling schedule and how much he was up. Number one, you and your team are the ones that put that together. You can't blame anybody but yourself. You could have cut down your schedule. However, this grueling schedule, especially with elections, this is part of the job. So you're telling me that you can't do that. What I'm hearing from him is that he just can't do the job. But I think he thinks that he can just, on some level, smooth talk us, even though he's doing a horrible job and he really can't anymore, just to get us to go, oh, okay. And furthermore, didn't he just say to his donors on a call, well, you guys can calm down. We're just not going to schedule anything past 8 p.m. And hasn't it come out that he's really only the president and active between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m.? What does that mean? What does that say to everybody?
row, including till 2 o'clock in the morning after that debate. I did events in North Carolina. I did events in Georgia. Did events like this today. Large crowds, overwhelming response, no slipping. And so I just had a bad.
Then he says no slipping. He says he did all this stuff, no slipping. We have nothing but a slew of slips. So Donald Trump lies 28 times, and you just said you didn't slip. But maybe he genuinely doesn't know, because again, he doesn't watch back his performances, and I'm just curious what his team is actually feeding him, or if these are just self-delusions, delusions of grandeur.
Bad night, I don't know why.
And how quickly did it come to you that you were having that bad night?
Well, it came to me as having a bad night when I realized that even when I was answering a question, even though they turned his mic off, he was still shouting. And I let it distract me. I'm not blaming it on that. But I realized that I just wasn't in control.
Did you hear how scary that was? I let him distract me. I realized I wasn't in control. So you're telling me, as the leader of the free world, quote unquote, that you will allow somebody to rile you up so you can't be in control of yourself or how you come across. Furthermore, I think we can all agree Donald Trump, in terms of how we've seen him in the past, was on pretty decent behavior. They both did some jabs, especially in the middle and towards the end, but Trump was actually a little more respectful to him, and I loved it. Trump's team played this perfectly. Trump's team knew his cognitive decline, and they basically said, Trump, stand back, give him the rope, and let him do it to himself. And he did. But so you can let somebody, even when Trump was being somewhat polite, you let him rile you up so that he gave you a bad night, and you're not in control. Okay.
But part of the other concern is that this seems to have fit into a pattern of decline that has been reported on recently. New York Times had a headline on July 2nd, Biden's lapses are said to be increasingly common and worrisome. Here's what they wrote. People who have spent time with President Biden over the last few months or so said the lapses appear to have grown more frequent, more pronounced, and after Thursday's debate, more worrisome. By many accounts, as evidenced by video footage, observation, and interviews, Mr. Biden is not the same today as he was even when he took office.
Look at his reaction. He looks like he is on the verge of crying, but also extremely mad. You seeing this? And I would get it. I wouldn't be happy either. But again, he just admitted he's not really in control of himself when he's riled up. Are we seeing this? That blank stare that he did in the debate. Like, look, this is what I want to say, you guys. Don't just listen to what they're saying. You have to look at everything else. Body language, facial expressions, vocal tone, vocal inflection. Body language is like 80% of communication. So check all this out.
3.5 years ago, similar reporting in the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal. Are you the same man today that you were when you took office 3.5 years ago?
In terms of successes, yes. I also was the guy who put together a peace plan for the Middle East that may be coming to fruition. I was also the guy that expanded NATO. I was also the guy that grew the economy.
In terms of successes, I put a peace plan together for the Middle East that may come to fruition. Congratulations, you made a plan. Congratulations, you and your people wrote some stuff down on paper. But the fact is, Americans, we are in poverty. Before the virus hit and Trump was in office, the economy was doing great. We were all making money, we were doing well. And then the virus hit and things got funny. But here's what people don't understand about inflation. There are larger parts to this because they like to say, oh, it's because of the stimulus checks. I'm not saying that doesn't add to it, but these bills, and I had a stimulus channel back then, I actually read these bills, covered these bills, several hundred pages of them. And there was so much spending that had nothing to do with helping the American people. And most of that was from the Democrats' side. And they said, we're not going to help the American people unless we have all this spending. And how much is he monthly sending to Ukraine? How much money is being funneled out of the country because of this man? We are way worse off. So he acts like, oh, I brought up the economy. No, you've put us in poverty, which is why a lot of people are fed up and furious with him. And even if they have preconceived notions about Trump, they're ready to vote for him because we know it's just going to get worse with this guy. But, oh, he made a plan. Like, that doesn't mean anything.
All the individual things that were done were ideas I had or I fulfilled. I moved on. And so, for example, well, that was true then. What's Biden done lately? Today, just announced 200,000 new jobs. We're moving in a direction that no one's ever taken on. I know you know this from the days in the government. I took on Big Pharma. I beat them. No one said I could beat them. I took on all the things we said we got done. We were told we couldn't get done. And part of it is what I said when I ran was I wanted to do three things. Restore some.
He beat Big Pharma. What does that mean? And here's the thing. He said he's lowered the price of some pharmaceutical type of substances. I'm not sure what I can say on YouTube because YouTube gets really weird. And okay, great. And I'm happy about that. But here's my question. Why are we still catering to the evil industry that is our healthcare industry in the United States? We are for profit playing with people's lives. And you kowtow to a lot of that. You, as the vice president, and Obama put Obamacare in place, which is ridiculously priced. And what it was, guys, it basically forced people into privatized healthcare. It forced people into insurance who couldn't afford it, people like me who are disabled. And I have been through the medical system of having years of not being listened to and misdiagnosed and suffering because we have doctors that are really pharmaceutical pushers and they don't know how to diagnose people. So when you say you beat Big Pharma, what technologies have you brought back to do that? Where are the med beds? Where are the light and sound frequency technologies, which he's going to say coming up, it's that same lie about Trump said inject bleach. That's not at all what Trump said. Trump said you can use sunlight as a disinfectant, and that is correct. We all know that sunlight, when you get out there, it creates vitamin D in the body. If you have enough K2, you always want to have K2 with vitamin D, but that it converts and it does amazing things for your immune system. And you can use light and sound frequencies to act as disinfectants. This is all information that we knew hundreds, if not thousands of years ago, which is why the ancients built buildings and they have so many different types of acoustic things that have healing resonances. This is why a couple hundred years ago, they changed the hertz and the frequencies of how music is supposed to be played to now be disharmonic with our bodies. So no, you've only catered to these people. Maybe you've lowered the price of some pharmaceuticals that people can use. Great. But our human bodies have the capability of regenerating and restoring if we're not poisoned to end our lives. What have you done to stop the poisoning of the FDA, of our food, of our water? What have you done for that? And the answer, not much.
Decency to the office. Restore some support for the middle class instead of trickle-down economics, both from the middle out and the bottom up. The way the wealthy still do fine, everyone does better. And unite the country.
But what has all that work over the last 3.5 years cost you physically, mentally, emotionally?
Well, I just think it cost me a really bad night, bad run.
So he keeps They've tried to prepare him with his half-working brain, and he keeps circling back. But what does this cost you? Well, one bad night. So you're saying that everything that you've been through since you've been vice president and president has just accumulated to that one bad night. And we're supposed to believe it was only once, even though we have a slew of clips. I think there's like 90 different points of brain rot over the last few months, but he refuses to acknowledge it.
Run. But, George,
He's losing it.
I'm optimistic about this
He
country.
starts to lose his train.
I don't think we're a country of losers, that he points out. I don't think America's in tough shape. I think America's on the cusp of breaking through in so many incredible opportunities. This next term, I'm going to make sure we have straighten out the tax system. I'm going to make sure we're in a situation where we have health care for all people, where we're in a position where we have child care and elder care, free up, and all these things.
Is this more forced insurance on us? Is this more forced insurance on the disabled who can't actually afford it? And this privatized insurance doesn't really help us because, guys, when you're disabled or when you have medical mysteries and you can't figure it out, many times the path to figuring that out is not going to be covered by forced insurance Obamacare, where you need to do very specific things with specific specialists. So no, I don't buy this. And furthermore, I don't hear him at all saying, I want to make sure we help with inflation. I want to make sure we help Americans he hasn't once in this interview talked about how we're suffering because we're all in poverty because of the inflation he and the Democrats and even some of the Republicans have put us in. They keep sending our money overseas. And guys, I love all my human brothers and sisters and my non-human ones. I love all of you. I want to help everyone, but we also have to be smart. You cannot help people if you can't help yourself. The first rule of being on a plane, if something happens and those masks come down, secure yours and then the child or whoever it is next to you that needs help. Help yourself first. And instead, we're sending money to wars we don't want to be in, we have no business being in, while we all can't feed our kids. And we have a system, and I want people to understand this, in this country. If you fall below the expectations of meeting money, your children are kidnapped. The country says you stay in line as a slave or we're going to kidnap your children, called CPS. And look, I'm sure there are some great CPS workers. I'm not saying they're not, but I'm also not wrong in this. So where are you going to get us out of poverty and actually get us in a good, healthy state? Because the way to keep us slaves and control us is to keep us sick and keep us in poverty and the threat of kidnapping our children. Absolutely evil. And I'm not saying I don't like this country and that this country is evil. The people who are running it are doing evil things to all of us. And I'm done with it. And it's time to speak up about it.
One thing I'm proudest of is, remember when my economic plan was put forward, a lot of the mainstream economists said it's not going to work. Well, guess what? You now have 16 Nobel laureates, 16 of them in economics, saying that Biden's next term would be, based on what he wants to do, enormous success.
Great! The last 4 years you've put us in poverty. I don't care that 16 laureates have said this will be success. What, you paid off 16 people? You paid off 16 people to just go ahead and agree with whatever crap. And what's in that economic plan? How many more trillions are we going to send overseas? Is that part of it? How many more people are we going to let in the country? We are letting people into the country we haven't vetted. We don't know if they're trying to hurt us. We are letting them in and we are giving them our free money when we can't feed ourselves. Explain it to me. Explain it to me.
Trump's plan would cause a recession, would significantly increase inflation. I've made great progress, and that's what I plan on doing, and we can do this.
I understand that, and I'm not disputing that. What I'm asking you is about your personal situation. Do you dispute that there have been more lapses, especially in the last several months?
Can I run the 110 flat? No.
Nobody thinks that.
But
That's
I'm
not
still
what
in
it's
good
about.
shape.
Are you more frail?
No.
Mentally. We're talking about mentally, and he knows
I know
that.
you
Don't keep my schedule.
But we're avoiding.
I know you spoke with your doctor after the debate. What did he say?
He said, he just looked at me and said, "You're exhausted."
You talked to your doctor after the debate. What did he say? He just looked at me and said, you're exhausted. We didn't do any other testing, which he also says they haven't really done cognitive tests because they don't really need it. Here's what I want you guys to understand. Many doctors are just paid to do what they do. And what I mean by that is many times they're not trying to help you figure something out. I call this turning tables. It's a business, guys. Doctors get you in and get you out, and they just want to push a pharmaceutical on you. The fact that modern medicine still doesn't understand that the systems of the body are all connected drives me absolutely insane and shows me that many of these people don't know what they're doing. Many doctors aren't in laboratories actually studying anything. What happens is these people, these sales reps, and I know because I've almost been one, they go into the offices, they give them a pamphlet of paper. Here's the information about this pharmaceutical that I want you to push, and we're going to line your pockets if you do so. Do those doctors actually check to see if that's the case? Are they really actually looking at the studies or even going in and doing studies themselves on this? Absolutely not. They just blindly believe the pharmaceutical industry, and many of those doctors know it's full of crap and they do it anyways. And why? They're in debt, so they have to play by the rules. It's not actually about fixing people. So when he's talking about the medical stuff, here's another thing. In a position like this, he can just pay somebody to say whatever they need to say. How many celebrities and people of power do we find out were addicts and basically they hired doctors just to continue their addiction? This isn't uncommon. We hear this stuff all the time. So when I hear him say, my doctors looked at me and said, you're tired, it's because you pay him to say things like that. If that's even true, we don't actually know what's going on behind closed doors. And with HIPAA, I don't know that we ever will. But the fact that he would say that with a straight face, either he's lying about what's actually happening medically, and I think that's true, or he's paying people, which I think is also true because he has multiple doctors. I don't trust this at all.
I have medical doctors travel me everywhere. Every president does, as you know. Medical doctors, some of the best in the world, travel me everywhere I go. I have an ongoing assessment of what I'm doing. They don't hesitate to tell me if they think there's something wrong.
I know you said you have an ongoing assessment. Have you had a full neurological and cognitive evaluation?
Watch these lies.
I get a full neurological test every day.
Every day,
with
yes.
me. And I've had a full physical. I had, I've been at Walter Reed for my physicals. Yes, the answer is.
I know your doctor said he consulted with a neurologist. I guess I'm asking a slightly different question. Have you had the specific cognitive tests, and have you had a neurologist, a specialist, do an examination?
No one said I had to. No one said, they said I'm good.
Would you be willing to undergo an independent medical evaluation that included neurological and cognitive tests and release the results to the American people?
Look, I have a cognitive test every single day.
So now it's back to yes.
Every day I have that test.
So it's yes,
Everything
no,
I
yes.
do. Not only am I campaigning, but I'm running the world. And that's not how it sounds like hyperbole. But we are the essential nation in the world. Madeleine Albright was right. And every single day, for example, today, before I come out here, I'm on the phone with the Prime Minister of, anyway, I shouldn't get into detail, but
We're starting to trail.
with Netanyahu. I'm on the phone with the new Prime Minister of England. I'm working on what we're doing with regard
That doesn't
to
matter.
in Europe with regard to expansion of NATO and whether it's
Right,
going to
you're
stick.
doing things.
I'm
Did you do
taking
the
on
test?
Putin.
Yes, no, and
every
then yes.
day, there's no day I go through there are not those decisions I have to make every single day.
And you're
And
Thinking
you
of
have
what?
been doing that, and the American people have been watching, yet their concerns about your age and your health are growing. So that's why I'm asking, to reassure them, would you be willing to have the independent medical evaluation?
Watch me there's a lot of time left in this
He
campaign.
won't answer. That's
It's over
not an answer.
125 days.
Yes or no?
So
I'll
the
make
answer,
a decision.
the right answer right now is no, you don't want to do that right
No,
now.
I've already done it.
Wait, so now it's a yes again. We've done
You
it.
talked a lot about your successes at the beginning
Yes,
of this
no.
interview.
Yes,
and
no,
and I
yes.
don't want to dispute that. I don't want to debate that. But as you know, elections are about the future, not the past.
Trump's a liar,
They're about
though.
tomorrow, not yesterday. And the question on so many people's minds right now is, can you serve effectively for the next 4 years?
George, I'm the guy that put NATO together, the future. No one thought I could expand it. I'm the guy that shoved Putin down. No one thought could happen.
George, I'm the one that put NATO together. I shut Putin down. The voice. Why the creepy voice? He thinks he's doing some type of smooth impact for us. I'm the one who da-da-da-da-da-da. He also says he's the one that created NATO. No, you didn't. And NATO isn't that good, as we know. There's a whole lot of issues with NATO. I'm the one who shot Putin down. No, you're the one who got us in wars with Ukraine and Russia. And we're just not actually saying it for what it is. You got us in wars we shouldn't be in, we don't want to be in. It's so interesting. They say that President Trump's going to get us in wars and be a warmonger. He was a president. It was so peaceful. Things were peaceful. Remember how angry people were when he went to North Korea? I loved it. And they were like, he shouldn't even mess with him. And look, I know North Korea is horrible. They do horrible things to their people. I am not knocking that whatsoever. That is true. But if that leader is so horrible and unstable, don't we want to be in a peaceful place with him? And maybe we can actually shift him into doing some better stuff for his people? Isn't that what we want to have? So it's so funny because Trump, the warmonger, never got us into wars. In fact, got us out of situations that we were put in. But you've now put us into. We are now into over in the Middle East and Ukraine. But you want to say it like, beat Putin. No. Putin is actually beating the crap out of us, and it makes me mad. And you are sending all of our money over there. Putin is beating us because with you sending all this money to fight him, we continue to be in poverty. No, Putin is beating us, and it's because of you.
I'm the guy that put together the South Pacific Initiative with AUKUS. I'm the guy that got 50 nations.
Nobody cares.
Not only in Europe, outside of Europe as well.
We can't feed our kids.
Ukraine.
Nobody cares.
I'm the guy that got Japanese to expand their budget. Who
cares?
And for example, when I decided we used to have 40% of the computer chip in, we invented the chip, that little chip.
Where's the med beds?
It's in everything from cell phone to weapons.
Great, you got a chip. Where are the med beds?
So we used to have 40%. We're down to virtually nothing.
How does this help
So I
us?
get in the plane against the advice of everybody, and I fly to South Korea. I convinced them to invest in the United States billions of dollars. Now we have tens of billions of dollars being invested in the United States, making us back in a position where we're going to own that industry again. We have.
How can that help feed our children? Trail off.
Anyway. I don't want to take too much credit. I have a great staff.
But I guess my point is all that takes.
Did you see this? George saw him start to trail. Second time we've seen this. Reins him back in. They're aware of this. We see, and even in the debate, there were times in the debate, they cut him off when he was trailing and starting to do poorly. So even though I think George is doing a decent job grilling him, it's more of a surprise than I thought. We're still helping him out.
It's a toll. Do you have the mental and physical capacity to do it for another 4 years?
I believe so. I wouldn't be running if I didn't think I did. Look, I'm running again because I think I understand best what has to be done.
Because you're power hungry.
To take this nation to a completely new level. We're on our way.
New level of poverty?
We're on our way.
On our way to more poverty.
The decision recently made by the Supreme Court on immunity. You know, the next president of the United States, it's not just about whether he or she knows what they're doing. It's not about a conglomerate of people making decisions. It's about the character of the president. The character of the president is going to determine.
Your character can get rattled when Donald Trump is being mildly triggering and more polite to you. Your character is to continue to put us in more debt. What we're hearing from him, it's a lot of political buzzwords and buzz phrases that don't mean anything, but are there to try to soothe you and try to assuage from what somebody is actually saying. And that's why this drives me nuts. That's why this makes me so angry. This is why I'm getting so fired up when I watch this stuff, because we are seeing real time people trying to BS us. And I am so happy that finally people are waking up to seeing this, because we had enough voices go against the grain and say, no, we're not going to be gaslit. We trust our senses. We trust our ears. We trust our eyes. We know what we're seeing and we're hearing. Drives me nuts.
Whether or not this Constitution is employed the right way.
And we should note that ABC News offered Donald Trump the same opportunity for a one-on-one interview, and he declined. We'll have more of George Stephanopoulos' exclusive interview with President Biden.
Why would Trump do the interview? Trump knows you guys are going to edit him, spin it, take it out of context, and also Trump is playing this smart. Trump's still doing the same strategy in the debate, which is, I'm going to sit back and let Biden do all the work for me. I gave him the rope, and he's doing a great job of just getting out of here with that rope and outing himself and ending things. So why would Trump? Why should Trump give you an interview? You guys are doing all the work. This is just smart, in my opinion.
For a more personal question, are you sure you're being honest with yourself when you say you have the mental and physical capacity to serve another 4 years?
Yes, I am, because, George, the last thing I want to do is not be able to meet that. I think, as some of the senior economists and senior foreign policy specialists say, if I stop now, I'd go down in history as a pretty successful president. No one thought I could get done what we got done.
What'd you do?
But are you being honest with yourself as well about your ability to defeat Donald Trump
Tell him, George.
right now?
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
You say that, and let me challenge.
Since he's so cognitively impaired, how can he have the self-awareness to actually say these things? This is the same man that just the other day, when they were at one of their political events, that Jill had to be in his ear telling him, this is this person, when it came to donors, this is this person, and this is what you need to say, and this is their name. Because he can't cut it on his own at this point. So how do we know he can actually judge himself? And I love this, guys. I'm not calling him stupid by this, but there is a saying. And basically, it's that when it comes to people being stupid, stupid people always think that they're better than what they are, smarter than what they are. They always overestimate themselves because they are too stupid to know how stupid they are. Where intelligent people are very hard on themselves. Perfectionists, very hard on themselves because they have the self-awareness to know where their weaknesses are, and they are hyper-focused, sometimes obsessive, like I can be, on fixing those weaknesses to overcome the obstacles. I don't think he has the cognitive ability to have the intelligence to be able to have the self-awareness to answer these questions.
You because you were close but behind going into the debate. You're further behind now by any measure. It's been a two-man race for several months. Inflation has come down. In those last few months, he's become a convicted felon, yet you're still falling further behind.
That's right.
You guys keep saying that. George, you know polling better than anybody. Do you think polling data is accurate as it used to be?
I don't think so, but I think
So
when
he's
you
saying
look
he's
at
not
all of the
falling
polling data right now, it shows that he's certainly ahead in the popular vote, probably even more ahead in the battleground states. And one of the other key factors there is it shows that in many of the battleground states, the Democrats who are running for Senate and the House are doing better than you are.
That's
right.
not unusual in some states. I carried an awful lot of Democrats last time I ran in 2020.
I helped a lot of them.
I remember
So?
them telling me the same thing in 2020. I can't win. The polls show I can't win.
And we aren't sure you did.
Remember 2020, the red wave was coming. Before the vote, I said that's not going to happen.
I think y'all just got
We're gonna
real
win.
sneaky with that
We did
early
better
voting.
in an off year than almost any incumbent president ever has done. They said in 2023, all the tough races, we're not going to win. I went into all those areas, all those districts, and we won.
All that is true, but 2020 was a close race. And your approval rating has dropped significantly since then.
Bingo.
I think the last poll I saw was at about 36%.
Yep.
The number of Americans who think you're too old to serve has doubled since 2020. Wouldn't a clear-eyed political calculus tell you that it's going to be much tougher to win in 2024?
Not when you're running against a pathological liar.
We just outed
Not
you
when he
once.
hadn't been challenged in a way that he's about to be challenged.
How are you going to challenge him if he ruffles you in a debate to where you lose control? How is that going? He hasn't been shot. No, he actually is just sitting back and letting you destroy yourself. In what capacity have you been challenging him at all, other than the media's been on your side, lying and gaslighting on your behalf? Tell me where that challenge is. And this is why I want to point these things out. And look, I'm not saying you guys are dumb. I know you're seeing it too, but there are so much BS being said. I want to make sure we take it back because I don't like buzzwords and buzz phrases. I like to get to the core of something. And the core of something are, what did you say here? And what have you said here? And what are you saying now? Provable lies at this point.
Not when people.
You've had months to
lie.
challenge him.
That's right.
Oh, sure I had months, but I was also doing a hell of a lot of other things. Like
Oh,
wars.
so you can't challenge him and do your job, right? You can't challenge him and do all these. Well, I was doing other things. But I thought you said that he's never going to be challenged like you're challenging him. Which one is it? Which version of political BS truth are we going to go with?
Around the world, like keeping NATO together, like working anyway. But look,
Now we're trailing. Anyway.
Do you really believe you're not behind right now?
Did you see it? And George, third time, reels him in. Well, anyway, but look, okay. These are these little buzz. Every time he'll go, yeah, but anyway, right? This is when he starts to trail. So it's just funny that they're still helping him.
I think all the pollsters I talk to tell me it's a toss-up. It's a toss-up. And when I'm behind, there's only one poll I'm really far behind, CBS poll and NBC, and
New York Times and NBC both.
Number 4, he can't remember, and now he's starting to trail, and they pull him back in. 4th time, they're helping him out. Granted, they are grilling him, but 4th time, they are stopping him from the spiral that he typically does and that we typically see. Just want to point it out.
Both have you about 6 points behind in the popular vote.
That's exactly right. New York Times had me behind before anything having to do with this race. Had me behind 10 points. 10 points had me behind. Nothing's changed substantially in the debate, the New York Times poll.
Just when you look at the reality, though, Mr. President, I mean, you won the popular vote in 2020, but it was still deadly close in the electoral college.
7 million votes.
Yes, but you're behind now
Defensive.
in the popular vote.
I don't buy that.
So George is spreading facts about what's happening with how far behind is. And now that things aren't working, look at that face. Look at how upset he's getting. Well, I don't buy that. Okay, so you just are just going to ignore the facts. The facts are just wrong. Look at how angry he's getting.
Is it worth the risk?
I don't think anybody's more qualified to be president or win this race than me.
You know, the heart of your case against Donald Trump is that he's only out for himself, putting his personal interest ahead of the national interest.
Get him, George.
How do you respond to critics who say that by staying in the race, you're doing the same thing?
Called him selfish.
Oh, come on.
Oh, come on.
Well, I don't think those critics know what they're talking about.
So we're not going to listen to facts. And when somebody actually brings up a bit of hypocrisy, they don't. Come on. They don't know what they're talking about. No, he's calling you out, though. You are being selfish by staying in with your cognitive... now I'm messing up. I'm getting Biden brain rot. With your cognitive function and abilities now going down. You are being selfish. And again, are you too far gone to have the self-awareness, or are you just so full of narcissism that you are not going to give up that power because it just feels too good to be evil? I'm just curious which one it is.
They're just wrong.
It's wrong. Look, Trump is a pathological liar. Trump is...
The facts are wrong. Trump's a liar. The facts are wrong. Trump's a liar. Make it make sense.
He is...
Trail off.
Have you ever seen anything Trump did that benefited somebody else, not him?
Yeah, we were in poverty.
You can't answer, I know.
I've questioned him and his allies as persistently as any journalist has.
Oh, I know you have. I'm not being
Yeah.
critical.
Yeah.
I'm not being critical.
I'm not being
But
defensive.
look, I mean,
Even though you are. Trail off. Trail off.
the man
Trail off.
is a congenital liar.
We just keep going back to the same talking points they've programmed him to say. Orange man bad, even though they've turned him orange recently. Trump bad. Trump liar. But so now he's doubling down on Trump lying when he just said the facts are wrong. You can't write this.
As I said, they pointed out in that debate he lied 27, 28 times the times, or whatever number, over 20 times. Talk about how good his economy was, how he brought down inflation.
It was better.
This is a guy who, unlike only other president other than him, is Hoover, lost more jobs than he created. This is a guy who told us to put bleach in our arms to deal with COVID, when over a million people died.
Never said to put bleach in our arms. Never. As I said before, he talked about there are certain technologies where it's like sunlight that's used as a disinfectant. And everything he said is factually, medically, scientifically correct. And a lot of us who are behind Trump, we know that he has dropped enough hints that he knows about these technologies, light and sound frequencies. These are, if not med beds, the beginning stages of things like med beds. And what is a med bed? A med bed is literally a table you lay on that you can get a full diagnostic situation of what's going on in your body quickly, and light and sound frequencies can fix it. You can generate your own stem cells to heal things, including regenerative, regrow limbs, regrow things in your body. It's possible. People like him are keeping it from us. So they have, and I love it. They went so hard and he said to drink bleach. never said that whatsoever, and they need to spin that because they are terrified that these technologies that have been hidden and suppressed from us will come back and their industries will crumble, as they should.
This is a guy who talks about wanting to get rid of the healthcare provisions we put in place. This is a guy who wants to give the power back to big pharma to be able to charge exorbitant prices for drugs. This is a guy who wants to undo every single thing I've done. Every single thing.
I understand that, and I understand that's why you want to stay in the race, but if you convince yourself that only you can defeat him?
That's right.
I convinced myself of two things. I'm the most qualified person to beat him, and I know how to get things done.
What'd you get done?
If
Put us in poverty.
you can be convinced that you cannot defeat Donald Trump, will you stand down?
It depends if the Lord Almighty comes out and tells me that, I might do that.
Well,
Hear that narcissism? If you could be convinced, well, only God can convince me. Really? You're so high and mighty that you only answer to God? And look, I'm a very spiritual person. God, the universe, source, whatever you want to call it, Buddha, Krishna, whatever term you want to use, fine. But I'm also somebody who knows whatever you want to call God or the universe speaks through other people, gives you counsel and wisdom. And you have to be humble enough and open enough to be able to take that in and see where that can apply for yourself. Whatever you want to call God works in mysterious and also works in many different ways. And the fact that your cognitive abilities and function are on the decline is karma. This is karma from what you want to call God or the universe for all of your horrific acts. And it is stopping your ability to actually do this job. God is stopping you, but you are not intelligent enough to see the signs from the universe on what is going on. You're not intelligent enough to even hear God when God is speaking to you and God is saying, step down for the betterment of the people because you are not good for them. And you haven't been.
Well, on a more practical level, Washington Post just reported in the last hour that Senator Mark Warner is assembling a group of senators together to try and convince you to stand down because they don't think you can win.
Well, Mark is a good man. We've never had that. He also tried to get the nomination, too.
Mark is jealous. You know what? I'm not going to directly say anything negative, but Mark wanted the nomination, too. So we're all haters that are just jealous. Even the people in your own party who are all screaming, stand down. Haters who are jealous, they just want your job. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Mark's not. Mark and I have a different perspective. I respect him.
Yes.
And if
he wants your job.
Chuck Schumer and Hakeem
Yes.
Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi come down and say, we're worried
Yep.
that if you stay in the race, we're going to
they
lose the
have.
House and the Senate, how will you respond?
I go into detail with them. I've spoken to all of them in detail,
And they
including Jim
still aren't
Clyburn.
sold.
Every one of them. They all said I should stay in the race.
Then why did they all come out
Stay
against
in
you?
the race. No one said, none of the people said I should leave.
But if they do,
Well, it's like, they're not going to do that.
Why not?
you sure?
Well, yeah, I'm sure.
Why wouldn't they?
Look,
You're so smart.
if the Lord Almighty came out and said, Joe, get out of the race, I'd get out of the race. The Lord Almighty's not coming down.
He is.
I mean,
Well, you
these
can't function.
hypotheticals, George. If all...
But it's not that
Betrayal.
hypothetical anymore. I grant that they have not requested the meeting, but it's been
Well,
reported.
I've met with them. I've met with a lot of these people. I've talked with them
Then why are they
regularly.
publicly coming out?
I had an hour conversation with Hakeem. I had more time than that with Jim Clyburn. I spent time with many hours off and on the last little bit with Chuck Schumer. It's not like I had all the governors. All the governors.
Come on, man.
I agree that the Lord Almighty is not going to come down, but if you are told reliably from your allies, from your friends and supporters in the Democratic Party, in the House and the Senate, that they're concerned you're going to lose the House and the Senate if you stay in, what will you do?
I'm not going to answer that question. It's not going to.
See how angry he's getting? I'm just not gonna answer it. But if and he keeps pushing him, like George is pushing him. But if they do, but if this happens, I'm not gonna answer that. Because you don't have an answer. Because all you have right now is your narcissisming. Never gonna happen.
What's your plan to turn the campaign around?
He's angry.
You saw it today.
What's your plan?
How many people do you draw crowds like I drew today? You find me any more enthusiastic than today?
Yes.
I mean, I don't think you want to play the crowd game. Donald Trump can draw big crowds. There's no question
Yes.
about that.
He can draw a big crowd, but what does he say? Who's he have? I'm the guy supposedly in trouble.
What does that mean? What's he saying? Who's he have? He can speak coherently and has the American people behind him. What are you talking about?
We raised $38 million within 4 days after this.
And Trump
Over- we
like
have over
doubled
a
that
million
right after.
Individual contributors. Less than $200. I mean, I've not seen what you're proposing.
Of course you haven't. You don't have the
You
you
have-
don't have the cognitive ability to see it. You don't actually look at anything, including your own poor debate performance.
And seen the fall off in the polls. You haven't seen the reports of discontent in the Democratic Party, House Democrats, Senate Democrats.
I've seen it from the press.
I know I'd already done a reaction before, but I hadn't gone into the detail I wanted because I didn't want to be stopping and starting the video. Where here, I thought, let me just really say everything unfiltered as much as I can and really, really showcase these lies. I want to know though, what do you guys think? Are there points that I'm missing? Do you agree with my points? Have you caught other lies, or do you think that Biden is just running perfectly and no matter what Biden says or does, Orange man bad. Trump is just horrible. I am really curious what you guys think. Tell me your thoughts, leave them in the comments. And guys, if you like content like this, make sure and give me a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Would love to have you around as I'm going to keep calling this stuff out. All right, guys, until the next video where we're going to laugh and we're going to showcase the evils of what's going on, I'm giving y'all hugs, mwah, kisses, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.